and welcome to episode 3 of the Nourish Support Centre podcast. My name is Lynne Scott. I'm the CEO for Nourish Support Centre. My pronouns are she or her, and I would like to introduce Asher.
My name's Asher, I'm 16, my pronouns are youger.
And Harry.
My name's Harry Donaldson, I'm 17 and my pronouns are he, him.
Thank you both so much. I think it's really amazing that you've both come along and today and that you're willing to just kind of chat and share a wee bit about your stories. You've both young people, I'm sure you don't mind me saying you both got additional support needs, and we support a large number of young people within Nourish Support Centre with a wide range of disabilities, and I just thought it'd be a really great opportunity for you guys to come in and chat about what your disabilities are, how it's affected you, and just so we can learn a bit more about each other and about what kind of things work and don't work in society. So, Harry, can we maybe start with you? Can you tell us a little bit about your disability and the impacts that that's had on you?
Awesome, yeah. So the first one is Tourette syndrome, which is a neurological condition. It's kind of misfires of the brain throughout the whole body, which causes you to have motor tics or vocal tics. So motor tics are like physical, whatever it could be, scrunching your eyes, raising your eyebrows, throwing your arms out, looking like a bit of Wally. And then vocal tics are, shouting, sometimes swearing, noises, anything you can imagine. So I got diagnosed with that when I was 7. It was a bit of a process, but we got there in the end. I remember when it first happened, I was in primary 3 in school, and we were doing like art. And you'd always go and watch the teacher do the example round the table. So everyone was standing around the table, and I started making these like weird noises, which I didn't really know why. And people were telling me to be quiet, whatever. And it just kept happening whilst we were around this table. And eventually the teacher went absolutely mental at me for being like disrespectful, which I don't overly blame her for, because I didn't know what it was at the time, so I couldn't explain it. And she didn't know what it was either. But yeah, I remember getting shouted at and then kind of...
That must have been quite upsetting.
Yeah, running off, kind of crying by myself in the wee corridor bit.
Harry, just at age 7?
Yeah, it was a wee shame, but we got there. And then, I got diagnosed with autism when I was 12, and high school helped a lot with that. Again, primary school went fantastic with the whole diagnosis thing. We were fighting for a number of years, my mum especially, to get some form of diagnosis, but they kind of refused to see that because, in school you're a different person to at home. You kind of bottle it up and you change who you are in a sense. But no, when I got to high school it was good. I got the diagnosis, we were all sorted, and they helped me a lot through that kind of process as well, of understanding myself. And
learning who you are. That's fantastic. There's so many people say that, just what you're saying about being in school, like young people managing to kind of hold it together all day long in school, and then you go home, you have that release and you let it go. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And that's so challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're talking about your tics, about the 2 different kinds of tics. Do you have both?
Yeah, I have both variants. So if you have one or the other, it's classed as a tic disorder.
Okay.
And if you have both, it's Tourette syndrome.
And is there any form of treatment or medication?
There is medications. Personally, I don't go down that route. I don't feel it'd be best for me.
Yeah.
But there is some things you can do, but it's not curable.
No.
You're born with it. You'll have it for the rest of your life. Sometimes it gets better through puberty and stuff. Sometimes it gets worse. It just kind of depends. And
do you think that once you... Obviously, you remember that memory, that first time in school. Did it happen quite a lot after that?
We were pretty quick to kind of get diagnosed and stuff. We had to see a lot of different, doctors and stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too bad. I did get diagnosed fairly quick. And after that, the teachers definitely were quite understanding. Obviously, the kids were all about 7 or 8, so it was a bit more challenging, but they they did get it. And it wasn't too bad. And
how did that change over the years then, as people got to know that you had this disorder and it wasn't you choosing to make these sounds?
Well, in primary school, it just got fine as we all got older, because everyone kind of understood it more with age. And they were all my friends anyway, we were all in the same class, so they just knew it was me. And then moving into high school, it was a bit of a worry because I didn't know everyone and everyone didn't know me and my weird things and stuff. But very quickly it got recognised, and it's in the mainstream media a lot now as well. So people do know what it is, and they were pretty supportive.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. And teachers and things were more supportive then as well. And
half and half of the teachers. Some of them were really good. Some of them were awesome, and then some of them weren't as good.
In what way?
I used to get shouted at by certain teachers and stuff for doing it, and I got told by one teacher that I didn't have Tourette's.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I was lying, which was an experience.
Yeah, I can imagine your mum had something to say about that as
absolutely,
well.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, it was good for the most part.
And see, when that happens, when someone's shouting at you, and then obviously you're going to feel a wee bit anxious, does that then make your tic disorder worse? Does it make the tics?
Yeah, so it comes out a lot more, but when things like that happen, and I think it's a bit of an unfair situation or whatever, I sometimes get a bit angry.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable.
Yeah, but then you start kind of saying things you don't mean and stuff, and it can be a bit of a struggle. Definitely when I was younger as well, I wasn't in control of a lot of those things.
So how you're feeling emotionally, does that impact then on what comes out in your verbal tics? Right, okay, I didn't realise that.
And also just generally, like, if I'm shouting at someone, but they've done something really bad, I might say things that I don't mean. Yeah.
You've no control over it, though.
Yeah, I've learnt to manage that better nowadays.
That's really good.
But it was a bit of a problem when I was younger.
When you were younger. I know, obviously, now you're working, you've got a job with us at Nourish, you're doing absolutely amazing. And there are some times, isn't there, where you're finding things a wee bit tricky and you just take yourself away for a wee 10, 15 minutes quiet time. And what happens in that time? Are you just having some quiet time on your own?
Yeah, so if I feel like kind of coming on or whatever, I just tend to take myself away before it gets carried away, especially working with people with additional support needs. Some people might have the same condition as me, and it tends to set each other off. So for my own good and other people's, I don't want to upset anyone else or trigger anyone else,
That's really thoughtful of you. It must be a lot to be thinking about all day, trying to...
It's all right. I just kind of take myself away, chill out for a bit and come back.
That's brilliant. I think that's absolutely amazing. So when you left school, did you have a lot of worries about how having autism and Tourette's would impact on your adult life?
I'm not sure if I was worried. I didn't really think about it that much. It didn't really cross my mind at the time. But I was so focused on kind of leaving school and getting out of that environment, because it wasn't a good environment for me. Like, it was overwhelming as it is, because it's school. There's a lot of people, places you have to be for certain times, all this kind of stuff. But after I left, it got a lot better. I kind of chilled out for a few months, and then I wasn't actively looking for a job or anything until I got told I was working here.
You got an interview and that was it.
The job came up here and you made me go for it.
You will work here, you will.
I said okay.
When you're talking about school not always being the best environment for you, did you get support in school? Did you have a reduced timetable or support classes? Or?
Yeah, so first and second year weren't fab.
Okay.
I didn't have any support in place, and I had a regular timetable. And then as I got to third year, I had a slightly reduced timetable. It was basically just one subject that I didn't go to, so it was maybe once a day. And then going into fourth year, I was on a very reduced timetable. Like for exams and stuff, I had the main classes I needed, and I had support in classes and things put in place. I had scribes for exams and stuff, and they were good.
That is really good. So what do you think would have made that even better for you?
Oh,
I know it's a hard question, I just wondered.
Yeah, I did enjoy being in the pupil sport unit.
Oh, that's good.
I did get some time in there, not all the time, but maybe a bit more time in there would have been ideal, because those people get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're awesome. I could not thank them enough for everything.
That's amazing. That's so important, that getting it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so important. We bumped into one of your old teachers
We did.
recently,
Yeah,
didn't we?
we did.
When we were at the Pride event. Was that a teacher from the pupil support as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, you seemed really happy to see them. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Asher,
Hello.
do you want to tell us a little bit more about your disabilities?
So I've got autism, ADHD and fibromyalgia.
Okay.
I could be slightly honest, but I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was about 7 or 8, I think. And diagnosed with autism when I was 11, and then fibromyalgia came when I was 15, which was so fun. So it's a counter-ting moment.
It's quite a lot, isn't it, to cope with?
Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody listening, Asher's my child, so I know a bit more about
I'm your
Asher's
favourite.
history as well. We knew when you were very young that you had additional support needs.
Everyone knew, I think.
But similar to what Harry's saying, getting that diagnosis can be quite challenging. So,
Yeah.
do you remember that time? Do you remember?
I don't remember getting diagnosed with ADHD. I just remember knowing I had it.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember the first time I was assessed with autism because I was really young. But the second time I have like slight memories. But I remember like primary schooling it a little bit. But I don't really remember like the whole process of getting diagnosed really because I was quite young.
It's more important about what support was put in place, wasn't it, then, rather than... And what did you find about school? Let's talk about primary school.
I got bullied a lot in primary school, and I think I grew up always knowing that I was different from everyone else. And it was a mixture of... It was mainly because I had just no sport age, but there was other stuff like me being trans and gay, but I was younger, so I didn't have the right vocabulary or knowledge to express how I was feeling. But I think all your kids around me knew I was different. And I can only like imagine, I feel like some of your kids had talks when you were in your house about me, about Asher being special, which I hate that word, but Asher being special in that. So I remember a lot of your kids talk down to me, like the people my age, and talking to me like I was stupid. And I used to try and act indifferent about it.
Yeah.
It was like I was acting in denial about it, because I knew you were talking down to me, but like I knew it was because I was different, but I think I couldn't fully understand why I was different. I just knew I was.
That must have been really challenging.
Yeah.
And do you think that these other pupils at school, if they understood a bit more, that would have been a bit easier for you?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, like, to this day, understand it, like, I think as this point is it's more understood than it used to be, but it's still really bad. Like, a lot of people, it feels like you're not, like, in my experience anyway, it feels like I'm not treated as a human. I'm treated as, like, an alien or someone. Like, I'm not treated, like, as a person. I'm just my disabilities.
Yeah, I know what
And
you
I
mean.
think I feel as people's understood a bit more. Because there were some that understood. Like, I have a friend new who I've been friends with since primary school, and she has a distant sport age, and she's always been just so unbelievably lovely. And I can't, like, I love her, oh my God. Like, I remember once, I think this was like right before I was diagnosed with autism, and we saw this video about what it can be like having autism, but I don't feel it portrayed it very well,
Okay.
because it portrayed it like autism is like this scary, horrifying thing. And although being autistic, it can be really difficult, and it does like affect my everyday life. It treated it like it was like, they treated it like cancer.
Okay.
Which it's not cancer.
No, so do you think it made people a bit more weary of it and frightened of it rather than
Yeah.
inclusive and understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, you're talking about school, I remember you coming home and there had been some friends who had a Harry Potter party at school, and you were the only, or one of the only people in your class not to be invited to that party, and you were absolutely devastated. And because you knew it was a Harry Potter themed party, you got it into your mind that you had to learn about Harry Potter. If you knew about Harry Potter, all these other kids would want to be your friend. So your gran bought you all the Harry Potter books, and you watched all the Harry Potter movies, and you found out so much about Harry Potter. You couldn't wait to go back to school. I think it was maybe the summer holidays. You couldn't wait to go back and talk to all the people in school about Harry Potter. And by that time, they had kind of moved on and weren't really interested in Harry Potter anymore. There was some other topic, whatever it was. But I just remember the effort that you made just to be included, just to try and be more like them instead of them trying to include you.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Slightly. I remember trying to be like everyone else, because I knew I wasn't.
Yeah.
Now, I've always known I'm not, like...
And why do you think it's so important for you to feel like everybody else?
It's not as much as it used to be, but when I was younger, it was really like I was a total outsider. And that's what it felt like, and that's how I was treated. Adults treated me like that, and to this day I get treated like that on occasion by full-grown adults. So at the time it was like, I don't know, it's just, when you're a kid, that's what you want. You want friends and you want that love and
acceptance.
Yeah, I think everyone to a degree wants that. And I just felt so much like I needed it. And I thought I had all these friends, and then I later found out you weren't my friends. You were horrible. And then as I got older, because I was so desperate for friendship and love and acceptance, I made some really bad friends that really impacted my mental health. One of them induced an eating disorder I had.
And during those years, how did you find, you're talking about adults, how did you find like teachers or other adults in your life?
I think like there definitely were people who were accepting of it. I think like my nana was I think she didn't fully understand a lot of it, which like is fair enough because when she was younger, you were just told these are bad kids. So I think it took her a bit to understand, but I feel like my nana's quite more accepting than a lot of other older people. But I understand that's just my experience, everyone has different experience. And I think there are adults that are lovely and understanding, and there are teachers. Like, I have had some absolutely wonderful teachers who you can just tell you love and care you put into your students. But then you've also had those teachers, I've had yell at me when I've been confused. Because one teacher's telling me to do one thing and others tell me, or you're giving me like 5 instructions at once. For any kid, that's confusing.
Yeah. But
for someone with additional support needs, you're like, what? What's going on? But I think there were quite a lot of teachers that I think there was this expectation that I wasn't going to do anything with my life and that I wasn't going to be anyone important because of my additional support needs.
And who do you think thought that, or where did you feel that came from?
I feel like a lot of teachers, I can remember this one teacher said something, because I was so young, I only remember bits of it, but I think I talked about like, I want to be this when I'm older, and she's like, you'll need a lot of help to do that, and I'm like, how? And she's like, well, you're going to need like your parents to support you and that more than other kids, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And that's a shame, isn't it? I remember one teacher you had, absolutely amazing. You were about to start a new year at school, and I met with the teacher and we talked about what she could do to support you. And I spoke about how visual aids are really good for you, and to make sure that you didn't stand out, she made sure that on your table in your classroom you had a visual timetable of what was going to happen that day. If something was going to be a wee bit different, there'd be a visual prompt there. Lots of things just to help you, throughout the day. But because she didn't want you to feel any different, she made sure that every table in the classroom had that same timetable.
Awesome.
And any support that was put in place for you. So, for example, if it was a lesson that you were going to get that day, and rather than just listening to the lesson, because that you would struggle with that, she would print the lesson out, and everybody, not just you, everybody in the class would get the written instruction as well as the verbal instruction. She was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I just thought how good, she's really made an effort.
Yeah, there are genuinely some absolutely lovely educators out there who need more, I think, applause for just, because you can tell, some educators, you can tell just how lovely they are. Like, I had this teacher in S4, who was my English teacher, and I contemplated singing our year just for her. And I remember the moment I walked into her class feeling so accepted. And she was accepting of everyone's pronouns, which in high school, coming out as trans, not everyone was very accepting of that. And she also had an autistic kid. So she was, at least, I feel like she was quite knowledgeable about autism. But I don't think that everyone who has a child who has autism automatically knows everything about it. But she did, I guess. And I remember quite a few times, she took me after class and she's like, are you okay? And no other teacher did that. And she was the reason I got into poetry, and I eventually won a poetry competition.
You did, yeah.
And I don't think I would have ever gotten into poetry if she didn't. I remember I told her, I wrote a poem. She's like, can I see it? And it was about depressing and how much it sucks. And she just told me it was one of the best poems I ever read. And then me, 15-year-old me, is like, oh my God.
And you'll remember her forever, won't you? Just for putting that support in. What about you, Harry? Did you have a teacher in particular?
Oh, I did. I used to sit in the drama department when I wasn't in classes or when I was struggling. And there was everyone in that drama department were awesome. But my guidance teacher was one of them. And she was just great. I honestly couldn't have done it without her. Everything she done.
That's
whenever
amazing.
I used to get detentions quite a lot for just being me, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and people didn't understand. She used to just wipe them off for me.
Oh,
Never
how nice
done
is
one,
that?
because
Yeah.
obviously she knew I wouldn't cope with that either, staying in
Yeah.
school, out of school times, having to sit in a room and be quiet for like an hour just wouldn't have been a good thing. So she used to wipe them off for me. I didn't actually really do anything to deserve them. Like, I wasn't just kind of...
You were just being you and you
I was
couldn't
just being
help.
you,
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
she was awesome. She really was.
That's amazing. That's so good. So, Asher, you've now left school. What are you doing with yourself now?
Well, I've done my first bit of college and I'm about to start my next level.
And how are you finding college?
It's a love-hate relationship.
Okay.
I've met some absolutely lovely people at college. Oh my God. I'm one of my best friends I met at college. But I'm not a big fan of the assessments. I'm not a big fan of them. You're not a 10 out of 10 moment for me.
I don't think many of us are fans of
I
assessments.
don't think many people jump around when they get assessments and essays and stuff.
I had a few lecturers I liked, and I had a few lecturers I wasn't a big fan of, and I did meet a few not so trans allies at college. And at one point, my mental health just dipped. And I think college for a little bit made it a bit worse. But my friend who was at college just totally, I told him once how my mental health was getting worse. So he went and bought me a bunch of frog stickers because he knew I really like frogs. And he just gave them to
nice.
me. It was I was in shock when he did it. I'm like, oh my God. He did it purely just to make me happy. It was I couldn't believe he had done something. Just
Is the environment at college better overall though than school?
Yeah, I think it's not only a more mature environment, but you're not, I guess, talked down to, if that makes sense. Everyone you feel like an equal with your lecturers. And I guess it's not, in my experience anyway, it's not really like that in school.
That's good. And what about you, Harry? Do you find the environment at working with adults and a lot of people that are a bit older than you, do you find that?
Yeah, no, the environment here is awesome. My boss is a bit crabby sometimes. But apart from that...
Is that this boss that's sitting here or you're the other boss?
Yes, definitely
you can decide.
Whichever one compliments you more.
Exactly.
Whichever one doesn't get him fired.
Yeah, whatever one doesn't fire me, I'll take. But yeah, no, the environment here is awesome. I mean, everyone's so lovely. They're always buzzing to be here.
That's
The
really
mood
good.
just goes up when you walk in the room. It's fantastic, and it's so rewarding as well to work
That's
here.
really good. We've had so much feedback from parents who you've spoken to who have just been absolutely blown away because they're trying to support their own child with additional support needs, and they're listening to professionals and listening to other parents. And then along comes Harry as a young person and shares things from your perspective and looking at their young person's perspective, and they've just said it's absolutely amazing. It's made such a difference to them just hearing you.
Yeah, I think it's really important as well because obviously parents can talk to other parents and they all go through pretty much the same thing as parents, but none of them will understand how it feels from the child's point of view. It's something I went through, something I can talk about, something I can give knowledge on. So I think it's really important just to say that. It's nothing
I
to
think
be
that's
ashamed
amazing.
of.
Honestly, I'm so proud of you for that.
Yeah,
See,
it's
good
good.
boss. You too, Asha. I mean, you've made some amazing friendships coming here. It's been really nice to see.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're meeting people that are similar to you or
Yeah, I
facing
think,
similar challenges?
Yeah, I think you're definitely, we're not all the same obviously, no one's ever going to be the same, but I've made one friend here, I'm just going to call him L because I don't want to call him by your name, who is one of the loveliest people I've ever met, and who's also just so fun, man. You are genuinely just so unbelievably fun and lovely, and oh my God.
You get emotional.
A little bit.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so important, isn't it? Just to make that connection. Yeah, that's so good. So, a couple of other things I wanted to ask you about then. Asher, you've talked about being transgender. When did you open up or feel that you were able to open up about that? And how was that impacted?
So, I think I was about 14. I could be slightly off. I was 13, 14 when I always knew that I wasn't a girl, always. But I was 13, 14 where I really started to be like, because I was in denial about it, so I really started to be like, okay, maybe I should actually do research into this, maybe I should. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, of course.
and then I had a friend who came out as trans, who's one of my best friends, who I love him so much, who I guess made me feel safer about questioning my gender, because I felt like I was doing something wrong. Like, I remember, like, 11 years old, looking at boys and being like, I want to be like that. And I had this thing of like, oh, when I'm a boy, and then just realisation, oh, wait, no. Wait, wait a second. So I started to explore gender identities, I think, non-binary. And although I think I'm still going through like things of figuring out what exactly I am, and I don't believe gender is as black and white as people say it is. It was about 14 I came out to some of my friends and said, like, I'm trying out these pronouns in this name. And most of my, well, not, like, a few of my friends were lovely. I had one friend who was just not having it, really. He wasn't calling me my name, he wasn't calling me my pronouns, which was so great, so lovely, love that. And then, so I was kind of coming out, like, when I was meeting people, I was introducing myself as ass and all that. And I think I was about 14, 15 where I told you I was questioning my gender. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was just sitting in the living room with your dad saying, I want everyone to call me Asser. And I didn't expect it to, like, change as sudden as it... Like, it was a good thing, but I remember he dropped me off at school that day and went, like, have a nice day, Asser. And, like, I had to... Like, I was tearing up. And I had to be like, my dad. Like, I had to be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not upset. No, I'm not upset. But, like, I'm not tearing up. I'm great.
So was it a good thing then?
Oh, absolutely. It was amazing.
It was a good thing.
It was absolutely amazing. Like, I think it's when you're trans, because I've always felt gender dysphoria and that, but you just shove it down so much, and then when you realise you're trans, all that stuff that you've been shoving down, that you've been repressing, comes up to the surface, and it causes a lot of people, myself included, to think, oh, I'm faking it. Which I have thought of, oh, what if I'm faking it? But if you're faking it, you know you're faking it. And then... So I remember, so like every time someone called me my old name, or every time like it feels like something's just wrong. And I still feel like that a lot. Like, this is wrong, everything's wrong. And then having fibromyalgia means I can't wear a binder, unfortunately, which is horrible because my chest is probably what gives me most gender dysphoria. And then also being autistic, a lot of people believe, yeah, because there is this correlation between having autism and questioning your gender. And I think part of it is autistic people are quite self-aware, so I think you're easier to realise, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But some people believe it's like, because people believe that autistic people are just stupid and can't think for themselves. Yeah, oh, you think you're trans, but you're not actually trans. And it's gotten to a point where that might actually, like, autistic people might actually struggle more to get transgender healthcare. So I might struggle more to get the healthcare that I need.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of your autism?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's quite shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like inhuman, almost. Yeah. Like
so they see a disability and they think, no, you can't actually think like that.
Yeah.
You can't feel like that.
I've always felt this way. I think some people think I just woke up one day, I'm like, oh, I'm trans now. But it's like, no, I was always transgender. It's just I did not have the knowledge or the vocabulary to explain that. And also... growing up, it was we live in a very like black and white world, and people see things very black and white. So I was told, like, you will like these things, you are yes, and I wanted to be so much like everyone else. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So it goes back to what you were saying about being a child earlier, about trying to be like everybody else and trying to fit in.
High school, I think, was when, like, yeah, I don't know why I'm saying high. I came out and I lost like half of my friends. And then there was this one boy who I knew like he wasn't going to accept me straight away. So I just told him to go away, basically. And he spread all these horrible rumours about me. And I lost so many friends. And like a lot of people thought I was faking being trans for attention. And I'm like, where's the attention? Give it to me. If I'm faking it for attention, give me attention, please. Like, come on, man. At least live up to what you're saying. Yeah, and then I couldn't find a lot of friends. I just had like not even a handful. Because I had come out, simply because I came out. And there was like so many rumours about me circulating. and I was really having a hard time accepting who I was. And for a while I remember being like, oh, my pronouns are she, yeah, because I didn't want to fully accept myself as trans. So I'm like, if I put you she in there, I'm not fully trans. That's obvious. It's not how it works. That's obviously how it works. It's not. It's really not. I made some amazing friends later down the road who, a lot of them were also transgender, but I don't know, being trans in high school I think is like one of the worst places to be transgender.
Do you?
Because not one of yours, because there are places where it's legitimately dangerous to be trans, and there are times where I feel like I can't say who I am. Like if someone's saying something so transphobic, it's like you don't know if you're just going to say slur in your face or if you're going to punch you. So you have to be like, yes, I am cis, yes, of course. And high school, I'm still quite lucky because a lot of people get way worse than I do. Like a lot of people get physically assaulted. A lot of people take their own lives. A lot of people do such horrible things because they hate themselves or people are making them hate themselves. So I'm still one of the lucky ones because I'm still here. And it's scary because a lot of people don't want me here simply because I'm trans.
Wow. There is a lot more support now, though, isn't there? I mean, if I look back to, and I know there's obviously a lot more to be done, but if I look back to when I was your age, and I can't think of any of my friends that might have been brave enough to be open about who they are, compared to now, it's better. But I believe that by the time your generation have kids,
it'll be much
better because you're all going to teach your kids to be so much more inclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, in the schools now, it's a massive thing.
Is it?
As well. Although you can't put that into students' heads.
And
people think you can.
Yeah, pupils can still be not the nicest, but there is a lot of things in schools that kind of promote it a lot more.
That's
say like, this is okay. Whether the pupils decide to accept that or not is a different story, obviously, because people are people.
Yeah, that's it. We are who we are, aren't we? Yeah. That's fantastic. And you go to some other organisations for support as well, don't you? Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Like there's like the Hive and that who are just absolutely wonderful, who I go to for support. And I used to go to this club. I don't as much anymore just because I haven't found the time, with such amazing workers and other people in the LGBTQIA plus community who are just so wonderful. Like I keep saying that word, like wonderful and lovely, but it's because I can't think of other words to describe them. Because that's what you are. One
of the things we've been asked for at Nourish, but we haven't had a chance to implement it yet, is a support group for parents who have young people with autism who are also transgender, and for the young people. And the reason we were asked is we were told that by some of the young people coming along that there are groups out there for people who are LGBTQ plus and transgender, but not also who have autism or other disabilities. Yeah. And that can be a bit challenging. And those parents wanted to learn how they could support their young people a bit better as well. So do you both think that would be something?
That's amazing, man.
Where do you think the differences are then? Is that because of the additional support needs and the disability that you need a different type of support or a different level?
Like, I don't know. I'm saying this as someone who's both mentally and physically disabled. I think physical disability is just not something people think about. And so a lot of times it's like somewhere isn't wheelchair accessible, or you say you're wheelchair accessible, but your ramp is so unbelievably steep, and it's like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I can't float.
So is there anything else that you would both like to finish before I move on to the next topic? Anything that you think that would be really interesting for anybody listening just to kind of take into consideration, anybody in education or other environments?
I think like physical disability isn't talked about a lot.
Okay.
Because I'm physically disabled, I've got fibromyalgia, and it was like one day I was thinking it still wasn't. And I think people, when you're building stuff like ramps and that, need to ask actual disabled people. Because a lot of time I think they don't. Or if you're making like a quiet space, you need to ask people who benefit from your quiet space, because you don't. You don't ask the actual disabled people. You'll ask your parents, the disabled people. Or you'll ask like, oh, like my like uncle's child's cousin's sister has an autistic child, so I know everything.
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of people don't realise, because I'm a wheelchair user, but I'm not bound to my wheelchair like a lot of other people. And a lot of people think if you have a wheelchair, you're bound to that wheelchair. So I think people need to think about it, I guess. If someone gets up from your wheelchair, you're not faking.
So just being a bit more open-minded then.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I get like stares if I get out of my... I'm hesitant to get out of my wheelchair in public because I know I'm going to get stared at. People...
It's a miracle.
Oh my God. I had this one guy, I went into somewhere and immediately I'm not even getting out of my wheelchair yet. I'm just getting stares. So this place had like booths. So I'm like wheeling up to your booths and someone's like, do you want me to pull a chair for you? I'm like, no, I'm fine. I get out of your like wheelchair and I didn't hear this until someone told me later. A guy said, I didn't know God existed. Because I had been able to get out of my wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And it was later when I was talking to someone who also thought you might have fibromyalgia, and we were talking about fibromyalgia, and they said like, oh, like we legit thought you were paralysed, never saw it before, but now you've explained it, and in my head I'm like, I really shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to wear a sign that says like, I am not wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
People can get out of their wheelchairs.
Yeah.
I actually used to do that with Tourette's. I've got a Tourette's hoodie.
Have you?
It's like, keep calm, it's only Tourette's. I have to wear it in like the airports and stuff. Just
Oh God!
Tourette's in airports,
Yeah.
you know.
Airports would be a nightmare.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh my
It's
God!
like-
Stay perfectly still. You've asked me to do something that won't happen.
Also, the number one word you can't say.
You exactly what you're saying.
I'm like,
And has that happened, Harry? Have you ever...
absolutely.
Has it?
Nearly every time.
What happened?
I just start screaming like bomb and that, and I'm like, I get into like, it's very weird, right? When I get into these situations, it's like, my mind goes numb, and it's kind of like ticks, but it sounds like a normal conversation, so I just kind of say things.
Yeah.
So I remember saying like to my mum, I was like, because I'm very anxious about going on planes, whatever. So I said to my mum, I was like, Mum, I'm just going to hijack this plane, so then I won't be worried about someone else doing it. And I was in a massive line of people. People were staring at me. People were concerned. I was just kind of looking about, like, oh,
What was the
We're
best
not
way
getting on that plane.
sorry. And like, yeah, screamed bomb a few times in the airport, you know, and all that stuff. It's fab.
Love that. Like 10 out of 10 experience.
10 out of 10 moment.
People don't even need to go to an escape room. You can just go to the airport with you.
Exactly.
And that must be obviously quite alarming for the people around. But again, you've no control over that, so it's also alarming for you. And
Yeah, I can't
what
really.
a challenging situation.
I can't blame other people because I've just threatened to cause a terrorist attack on their flight to Florida. You know what I mean? So it's not fantastic. So you can't blame other people in those situations. Definitely not. But yeah.
But I can imagine that's where the hoodie would definitely
absolutely,
come in handy.
yeah. I'm like pure Tourette's hoodie, man. I got my sunflower lanyard. I've got I need to get a big sign, like the LED light sign that has an arrow pointing to me. Tourette's, beware.
So you're talking about your anxiety about flying, but obviously you've had to fly a bit more recently because you've got some really exciting stuff going on. So
yeah, we've got a few things in line.
Let's talk about the problematics.
The problematics. Yeah, so me and my mate from Glasgow started a duo around about a year and a half ago. Since then, we've signed a record deal with two awesome guys. One songwriter and one manager who know their stuff. It's been fantastic. We've been to Sweden 6 times.
Wow.
Our songwriter's Swedish, so we go over there to record vocals and whatever else we need to do. And then we also went to LA in September last year to film music videos for the songs that we've been producing.
It's absolutely amazing, Harry. It's so exciting.
It's great. It's a good experience. I'm not the best with it, because I don't like staying in different countries or hotels. I very much so like my own 4 walls, Not a fan of the flying, although I've kind of got over it now. It's not as bad, but I was scared of planes because my granddad used to watch plane crash documentaries with me when I was like 6. So,
yeah, that'll do it for you.
yeah, that wasn't overly...
Yes, good tapping, Harry.
This wasn't overly like an autism thing. This was just my granddad scarring me as a child.
Yes, you just hear him in the back of your head, just planes going to crash, Harry.
It's so bad. I remember just being scarred from that. It's so funny. But I've kind of got over that now. But I still don't like the kind of, the foreign places and not everyone speaking our language, not being able to communicate with everyone, getting lost and that kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's lots of challenges that come with it. But talk about the exciting bit. I mean, the singing and the performing, you love that part, don't you?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the reward for me.
Yeah.
Getting to perform in front of people, doing our thing. And hopefully that will be soon as well. Not got dates for you yet, but Very soon.
Watch this space. And I've been lucky enough to hear you sing a few times, and absolutely, you and Archie are absolutely amazing. So people can follow you on social media, can't they?
They can do if you want to follow us. It's The Problematics with an X at the end. On everything, we got Twitter, or X as it's called now. Yeah, we've got TikTok as well, same, Instagram, Facebook for all the moz. You know what I mean? Anyone wants to follow us on anything.
Okay, thank you both so much. This has been absolutely brilliant.
You're very welcome.
And definitely get you back again soon.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.